I know there are people pulling faces already in the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th row in the back, in the middle. But we do have to have we do have to complete the AGM. So this is just for BHVS members. So if you're not a member, you do not need to stay. You are welcome to go and have a great journey home. Thank you all for attending. Please ensure you've put in your feedback forms. It's very important for planning future meetings. For those BHVS members, we do need to have an AGM. It is a requirement of the Charities Commission apart from anything else. And if you can maybe move down towards the front if you're at the back, because we've got a few formalities that we need to go through. And I promise to be quick, St Thomas's Hospital contingent. So we'll just let everybody come down. Yeah, thanks very much indeed. No, she can stay. She can stay. Yes, yes, stay. Yeah. Yeah. So I'll leave them. I'll leave a bit about collecting the patients.
That's fine. Yeah.
And I'll just deal with the elections.
Okay.
So we're going to try to keep this brief. We've got a little bit of formal business that we need to do. The first of which is around election of council members and officers. So as of the AGM last year, Norman was proposed and elected as president-elect, and he takes over in about 5 minutes. And Madalena was proposed and elected as honorary secretary-elect, and again takes over in about 5 minutes. We didn't, at the AGM last year, manage to select a treasurer, but we had a process of nomination over the last few weeks, and we had a volunteer in the shape of Andrew Kennedy, who has accordingly been appointed to council as treasurer-elect, again taking over in about 5 minutes from Norman. We also had a process of a general election to council, and this excludes the treasurer's office. We had 2 nominations for 2 spaces, and therefore John Chambers and Dominic Schlossen are elected to council. So thank you very much for standing, everybody, and we look forward to you taking part in the business of the society. So the next formal thing we have to do is to go through the accounts, and we have to present the accounts as they have been sent. We have to send these to the Charities Commission, and they are...
Is it all turned off, Richard?
I've got it to 5:30.
Right. Is it still? It's the projector's still.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
So while Norman's setting up, we have every year to send our accounts to the Charities Commission. You'll be pleased to say that they are there on the Charity Commission website. Lots of charities forget, but largely thanks to to Norman and Richard and to John, they're up there. And if you wish, you can actually get to see a summary of them.
Carry on.
I can't think of anything else to say about accounts, I'm afraid. That's probably why I'm not an accountant. Here we go.
No, to the top. Oh, yeah. Thank you.
Right. Yeah, we dropped them down. So, Norman.
Okay, so first of all, just a quick outline for minutiae, if not for anybody else. The main income of the society comes from membership, from meetings, and donations or gifts from industry who usually support specific meetings. Main expenses tends to be meetings again, so hiring venues, catering, speakers expenses, management, NSHI. Richard Basney, who supports the running of the society, is employed by the NSHI, and then also there's website maintenance by a firm called Titanium. The money is kept in a current account from which all invoices are paid. Meeting and membership fees tend to go into a PayPal account, which acts as a buffer, and then funds, as it's usually once it reaches 3,000 or 4,000, funds are transferred into the bank account. Industry contribution tends to be paid directly into the bank account. So these are the, what I did is this is going into PayPal and just counting the number of episodes, so you can tell from PayPal which are the membership exchanges and which are the meeting exchanges. And as you can see, the membership is, number of membership fees is coming down quite drastically. So these are, as you see, the different years. As did the number of meeting episodes. Oh, the year, this is 1st of October to the end of September, by the way. And this is income. So again, income from membership is coming down very drastically, as has income from meetings. Income from industry has gone up a bit, and essentially industry is mainly Edwards. So Edwards contributes by far the biggest amount. Last year we had a small donation from Boston Scientific, who supported one meeting. And these are the expenses. So again, meeting expenses, a bit less. An SHI, which, as I said, covers Richard's salary. Titanium, which is the website maintenance company, and various other sundry other expenses. This is the balance in the bank account. I tried to. You can't really add the amount in the bank to the amount in PayPal because they're very asynchronous, and I found it very difficult. The dates are completely different, and because PayPal acts as a buffer, so money goes into there and then it grows and then it offloads into the bank account. So all I can say is the amount of, certainly at the end of September, the amount in PayPal was quite low. So really, these are conclusions from the thing. I think the membership cannot be seen as a source of income. Last 2 years, meetings have been run at a loss, so they've cost more than they've actually earned. I think we will need, but obviously it's up to the new treasurer. I think we need a fiscal policy and probably a budget. And in actual fact, if you look at government guidelines for charities, they do suggest that charities should have a kind of published budget. By fiscal policy, in other words, there should be stated and quite rigid statements at the beginning of the year of how much you're going to charge for meetings and that kind of thing. Membership policy, we'll talk about this. Do you have a membership drive, or do you just abolish membership completely and just have it as a society with no members, but which is dedicated to the aims it was originally set out for, which is just education, mainly education, and making various bodies aware of heart valve disease. I think that there needs to be changes to industry contribution, so a bit of work needs to be done there. I think using the expertise the society has to generate income, again, accreditation and education, and maybe, again, commercially develop online education. So these are sort of various suggestions that could be looked at to try and improve the financial situation of the society, because we're obviously unfortunately heading in the wrong direction. So that's my report, Simon.
So, can we have the lights up again, thanks? So, the one thing it's probably worth adding to that is that we made a deliberate decision for the meeting at King's in July that we wouldn't charge for that. So that was wholly supported by sponsorship, which obviously affects the balance of. So in effect, that counts up as a meeting, which cost us, but that was covered with a little bit to spare by sponsorship. But any immediate comments? I'll pass over to Norman in a moment. So to talk about. Sorry. Go on. Yeah.
It seems that if you want to maintain having a membership, and actually I think you should, because I think the idea of having a society that doesn't have a membership is a bit odd. But there has to be an incentive to pay a membership fee only when you are coming to the meeting. The meeting is great.
Correct.
Meetings are always great. So the question is, what are we prepared to do?
Yes.
As members of the society to create something to be online, rather like the BSE, that gives people an additional benefit to belonging, things like case libraries or
Yes.
they can access that you can't access unless you've got a membership, or things that help people pass.
So you're absolutely correct. And when we say a society with no membership, what we mean is no subscription rather than no membership. So you can be a member but you don't pay. So you're right. If you're going to charge.
Not paying a subscription, people genuinely won't feel that. I mean,
No,
just be
I-
go to a meeting once a year.
Yeah. So, but you're absolutely right. You need to generate a sufficient content to justify people's subscriptions, and that's not an easy thing to do. But we'll park that for just a second, because I'm going to hand over to Norman to do that, because that's something that we've been talking about. What I want to do, the final thing I have to do before handing over to Norman is just to summarise the activity for the last year, of which this is effectively up to the AGM from the last AGM. So we have had 2 extremely successful core curriculum meetings. We ran the usual meeting in London in the spring. We had the first autumn or late summer really meeting, which was organised in Leeds by Laura and Dominic, which was a huge success. I mean, it was packed out. I mean, literally packed out. It was like you couldn't have got a sardine in the room, I don't think. And it was extremely successful. And the bits of feedback that I've seen were also very positive. So I think we clearly have a meeting there which works, that we have a demand for, and I think we need to be looking at running that twice a year. We again had a very successful meeting at King's over the summer in decision making. We managed to cover that, so the entire cost of that with sponsorship. And again, that was effectively sold out. We had pretty much 100 people signing up for that. And we've had a very successful meeting here today. So we are getting people to come to the meetings. The key thing is what else do we do? And clearly that requires quite a bit of investment, at least in time, people, and that is a limited commodity. Now, on which note, I'm now going to hand over to Norman as the new president, and he will go through a few of the ideas and thoughts that we have about where to take the society from now. And I think what we've also got to remember is we are still only 6 years old, and we are going through a pretty rapid state of evolution. I think what we've demonstrated here today, not least with the content of the Young Investigator, is that there is no other forum that does for bowel disease what we collectively do for bowel disease. And that is, I think, is really very important. So, Norman.
Thank you, Simon. Well, first of all, I'd like to thank Simon and John before for the good service, and council members who agreed to support me to be president. I think clearly things have to change. I mean, I've demonstrated this, and as a surgeon, clearly one of the important things I'm going to have to do is to try and increase the engagement by surgeons, both trainee surgeons and established consultant surgeons. And I'm very pleased. Andy, who's the new representative of SCTS is here, which is excellent. Thanks for coming. And I think, just as the trainee meetings were really successful with cardiology, then I think if we can increase the surgical input into these trainee meetings, then hopefully, you know, we could potentially double the number of people who might want to come to these meetings. I think that the membership issue is a big issue. Now, do we, as Simon possibly suggested, do we stop subscription fee, or do we just lower it and offer incentives for people to join up? I think it's important. We need to develop we have to develop online education, and online education that's actually meaningful for lots of people. So there's lots and lots of work that needs to be done. I think what I also would like to do is, from a governance point of view, is to maybe increase the number of face-to-face meetings, because clearly we need, as Sam says, I mean, time is required, unfortunately, and you know, we will have to invest our own time to try and turn the ship around. And you know, when I say face-to-face meetings, that we don't, you know, we might use Skype, we might use video conference and that kind of thing. So I'm always very open to suggestions. I think what I will do, I think I will get in touch with members of council and probably in the next few weeks organise a meeting, and I will ask people to come up to suggest certain solutions. I will pose questions to members of council, and I would hope to try and get suggestions for answers, and then take it from there. The other thing I need to mention...
Can I say?
Yeah.
So, Michelle's got a very good point there around, obviously I deal with members on, you know, not a daily basis, but regularly, and it always comes back to, you know, what do we get? What do we get from our membership? And why should we join your society over another society? So, you know, there's things that happened where we don't send out newsletters anymore. So there's a lack of correspondences going out to members. Okay. And also we only hear from you when there's a meeting. Well, yeah, because there's nothing much more that I can, you know, put forward.
In between, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we've developed the social media side now, so we're doing Twittering, and so, you know, so we're engaging with people that way. We've got a member zone on the site that is stagnating now, because, you know, unless you're evolving it and putting new material on there, why would anyone go back on there? You know, we try to do it for them. Unless you've got a handful of contributors, you know, helpfully put discussions together, it just becomes a graveyard. So no one's going to go on there. Meetings are well attended. Okay, you're not going to make a huge amount of profit on bums on seats. Okay, what you will make it on is sponsorship. So we're getting good attendance. The only way is to increase our membership. Your figures, if we had Edwards, Medtronic, Boston,
And
St Jude's on board, it's a profitable society. I think you can't abolish membership fees, because what you're getting again, you'll get a database of people who don't care about society, don't care about bowel disease. You just got a database of, you won't see them again, you won't get any contribution. I think you need to reduce £50 in line with other societies, so even £25. Yeah. So then they won't come back and say, I'm not paying £25 a year. I'm not paying, you know, the moment it's £50. Why am I paying £50 when you don't communicate to me? You have to put value on the society. As soon as you drop it, you might as well give up.
I agree. I'm tending to agree with you. And clearly what is needed is like a massive relaunch. Madalena.
What I want to say is that the membership is very important in numbers. So my experience from the European Society is that industry becomes interested in donating if there are big numbers. So if you show donates. We always did that with the ECDI, the European Association of Cardiovascular Imaging, as well, that we withdrew membership, we allowed for 3 times when we were in trouble with low numbers, and then when numbers became bigger, people became more supportive, and then the society became, wealthier and healthier, and then bigger numbers attract bigger numbers. So it's not necessarily one or the other. It can be a temporary compromise to attract membership for free, to see who would be interested, how many are there. Will there be 400 suddenly members? Will there be 1,000 members, or will there still be just 150 or 120? So I think we could.
It's about reaching a critical number, isn't it?
Yeah.
John, did you? Oh, sorry. Did you want to say something?
Also, John had sent an email around recently about newsletters and letter, which is very important because.
Yes, because he quoted
it
the
doesn't necessarily need to be about news regarding on meetings, and if that's something that we haven't done anything important in the meantime. It's just a reminder, and it can be a reminder about the educational material. And the most important educational material that people find important are easy to access cards of flow charts which support clinical decision making. And you'll be amazed how many of us, even if we consider, people which consider themselves experts or specialists in condition or modality, they are still accessing apps and flowcharts, and they can be available on the internet, and they can be available on apps. It's more difficult to develop an app than actually just develop some flowcharts on the internet. But they are really useful, and then the letter update letter can just tell them we'll develop this as well. So if you go on, you will find out when you should do part, or when you should do part 1 of the evidence, but short done in like 2-3 slides type of information. So I think that's very easy to develop and more useful education. My question is also, apart from donations because we know that there are societies which are huge and they have no membership. So let's say the European Association of Cardiovascular Imaging, because again is relatively recent, has a membership because otherwise it cannot survive. However, the European Society of Cardiology doesn't have a membership, and the Nucleus for Heart Valve doesn't have a membership, and counts about 700 members. They just based
no membership fees. Sorry.
No membership fees. Yeah, no membership fees. Yeah. And they do have involvement of funds and donations type charity, not necessarily on the industry. So donation doesn't necessarily have to be from industry. I don't understand. I don't know the legality of it.
They make all their money through sponsorship. The European Cardio.
The Society of Cardiology is based in China.
Their big meeting, their sponsorship, they've got about 100 stands.
Yeah.
That's how they make their money.
Society of Cardiology, I'm paying membership fee.
Fellowship.
That's really
Fellowship.
But no
good money
membership.
for lots of us.
Yeah, no membership. So maybe a fellowship. Maybe it would be the idea of making a fellowship. And how would you have a fellowship? What do people want from a fellowship? You want the FESC after the name, but what will you get from a fellowship? People pay for that.
So the problem that we face is that everybody who's going to join BHVS is already a member of other things. So most people will be already a member of the BSc, BCIS, or something else. And so the reality is that most people regard that as being their primary affiliation. And that's not going to change. And so an affiliation to BHVS is always going to, for the vast majority of people, is going to be a secondary affiliation. And it's unrealistic to expect people to pay a great deal for that. And so the question really is, do we lower the membership fee and hope that attracts more people to actually pay through, or do we just abandon it and have a membership which doesn't require a subscription? We still provide all the educational material, rely entirely on the sponsorship and fees from meetings, and actually we have a bigger membership that we go out and say to Edwards or the other, this is our membership, you still have to sign up. I don't think that there's no issue of loyalty or anything else, it's simply a question of that's how we're going to generate more sponsorships. How do we build up the numbers? And actually, the income we get from subscriptions is such a small proportion of membership. Is actually whether it's worth keeping, or whether you cut it down to a significantly lower level. It might attract more people, but it's whether it's worth it. It's never going to be enough to sustain the activities of the society. It isn't. We're never going to be the European Society of Cardiology, the British Cardiovascular, or the BSC with hundreds and hundreds of members. It's always going to be a relatively small society. And so
Could you sort of almost trial it by saying, right, we'll have a 3-month or a 6-month, join in the next 6 months and it's free. See whether that makes people join, because if it doesn't, then actually you might as well just keep the membership fee and let the people who are really interested pay it.
It's all about the people that pay.
How does that work in any kind of drive for joining anything?
We're not paying £2 a year,
Yeah.
and then you're saying it's now free, so I've got funding.
However, this happens every second year with societies we have before elections. So ECPI allows for 3 months free membership before the year of elections every year. And then it has all the juniors, and then once they became members, they usually tend to stay.
Yeah.
So, or the ones which actually see that they want to belong there, and they like to
even,
stay.
it would be really a pain in the backside administratively, Richard, but you could say to people, if they get someone to join up and they give the name of the person that's told them to join up, we fund that member.
Do you have it free for doctors in training, and then that gives you sort of the best of both worlds, where in the corporate days are so successful, you've got a lot of
That's a very good idea.
It would be free for everyone except consultants, but then have a reduced charge.
That's another possibility, yeah. The other thing I need to mention is hard valve voice. It's well gone. Is it all?
and
All right, okay.
patient representation, yes.
Yeah, so Hard Valve Voice is a charity dedicated to increasing awareness with doctors, with the public mainly, of heart valve disease. And one of the important things we need to do really on our council is to have a patient representative. And I'm really sorry, I can't remember your name. Do you want to stand up and sort of introduce yourself and tell us your story, essentially?
Well, I had a valve surgery. My name is Pat Carr. I come from Chorley, like
I'm interested in what that was.
yes, I had my surgery done in 2013 at Professor Ray's Heart Valve Clinic, and came across Heart Valve Voice because I was Googling, as I do from time to time, all issues related to what happened to me. And their site is very, very good. And yes, it is all about patients' voices. It's all about raising awareness, telling other people not to ignore things. And it's a very different positioning to, obviously, my first exposure to what you do today. Our Heart Valve Voice is very different. But I think if I could just make a comment about what you said about fellowships, accreditation and that sort of thing, assessment, I would think that is incredibly important. And also as an outsider but a patient, we're losing so many young doctors who go abroad. Is it not a matter of building up the heart valve sector so that to make it more interesting to more young people to come into it and talk about doctors there? So I think you have a very valid platform. It's what, as you say, what you do with it. But it's such a huge issue among all the population that there has to be a place, and your job is to find the place for it, but there clearly is one. And I'm very interested. I'm a patient. I'm also a member of the public, obviously. So I think that these are very, very important areas for disseminating so much information and make it valuable, because it clearly is. If that helps in any way, happy to be interested.
So I think patient involvement is very important. I mean, there's a very interesting article, I don't know, last week's BMJ before that. There's a whole article about having scientific meetings which are actually patient-friendly. And I've always thought about this, and that might be something we could do in the future. So my idea, essentially, we have to have a symbiotic working relationship with Heart Voice, with different organisations, but a lot of the work that we do, a lot of the work that they do, they could help us a lot, both in terms of involving patients, suggesting patients for counsel, because we need a patients to be on the council society. Also producing patients who want to do research, for example. As we know, public patient partnership is so important now in when you seek grants for research, and Harvard Voice could help in that regard. So.
You just have to be slightly aware and keep on the radar where funding is coming from.
Yes, I know that. Yeah, I know that.
Just
I know that. Yeah, it's sort of half an arm's length, but I think that's true. And I am reassured that people are trying to seek an improvement in diversity in the funding. So but I understand that. We've had these conversations before. So that's it. A lot of work to be done, and I look forward to the challenge. Thank you. What I will do over the next few weeks is be seeking your email addresses. Today, I'll probably go through this and organise a council meeting. So.